Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Respected brothers and sisters, welcome to this week's ICNA ILF Understanding the Quran series. Inshallah, we'll be continuing the study of Surah Al Nahl, verses 19 to 25. Today's session, inshallah, will be delivered by Dr. Brahim Messai.
وجزاك الله خير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وبعد. Inshallah, I'm sorry for the little delay, couple minutes because of some technical difficulties. So inshallah, tonight we continue our reading and our tafsir of the Quran from Surah Al Nahl, like you mentioned, the ayah 19 inshallah to 25. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. والله يعلم ما تسرون وما تعلنون والذين يدعون من دون الله لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون أموات غير أحياء وما يشعرون أيان يبعثون إلهكم إله واحد فالذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة قلوبهم منكرة وهم مستكبرون لا جرم أن الله يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون إنه لا يحب المستكبرين وإذا قيل لهم ماذا أنزل ربكم قالوا أساطير الأولين ليحملوا أوزارهم كاملة يوم القيامة ومن أوزار الذين يضلونهم بغير علم ألا ساء ما يزرون. Subhanallah, these ayat are incredible ayat. So the first one, قوله تعالى والله يعلم ما تسرون وما تعلنون. The ayat translated as Allah knows all that you conceal and all that you disclose. Before we talk about the tafsir of this ayah or what we can benefit from this ayah, there is a rule I always probably mentioned last time too when we talked about Surah Yusuf. Whenever we read Quran, in general, it's a general rule for us to contemplate about the ayat of the Quran. If you want to understand the ayah, you should always look at the previous ayah and the ayah that comes after. So scholars they express that by saying إذا أردت أن تفهم السياق فانظر إلى اللحاق ولا تنسى السباق. If you want to understand the current context, look at the previous one and don't forget to see the one after, obviously. And the ayah before this one, قوله تعالى, it's a famous ayah. Most Muslims know this ayah. وإن تعدوا نعمة الله لا تحصوها. If you were to count the blessing of Allah, you won't be able to do so. Inna Allah ghafurur rahim. So what's the relation, what's the link between this ayah and the one that comes right after? Subhanallah. When Allah mentioned that His blessings, they cannot be counted, they're countless, and no one can encompass the blessings of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and He is all forgiving, all merciful, meaning He's oft forgiving. He forgets often, and he forgives a lot. He forgives a lot, and He is merciful on His slaves a lot. That's the word غفور على وزن فعول أي كثير المغفرة. It's a tense of exaggeration, Arabic language, that requires the action that occurs often. So Allah is غفور. So He forgives Jalla wa Ala often, despite the fact that His slaves and his creation are ungrateful for His and countless and for His blessing that no one can count. Despite the fact also that we are unable to do so, like I mentioned, and let alone fulfilling fulfilling the duty towards this blessing, subhanallah, despite if it's small or big, despite if it's hidden or not, despite if it's superficial or internal, external, doesn't matter what type of blessing it is, no one is able to fulfill the duty of one single blessing of Allah. And by the way, subhanallah, the ayah, I don't know if it was mentioned maybe last night or last time, when the ayat says in ta'uddu ni'mat Allah, the word ni'mah came in single tense, like context as a single. It doesn't say blessings of Allah. It say ni'mah, which is a single word, blessing of Allah. Scholars, they extracted a rule from this ayah, subhanallah. It's a general rule, has no exception. The rule says, it's an Arabic rule and it's also used in usul al-fiqh, that al-mufrad al-mudaf ila ma'rifa ya'um. Al-mufrad al-mudaf ila ma'rifa ya'um. Meaning, the single word that's been added to a definite word indicates generality. And this is because of this ayah, because when we say وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, which is just one, ni'mah is just one in Arabic, right? The end of the ayah, or the words after are لا تحصوها. You won't be able to count it, which means that ni'mah means ni'amullah, blessings of Allah. So if you see sometimes in a hadith or an ayah that just the word comes in single and it's added to a definite word, that indicates all of that type of that thing. I'll give you another example. Maybe it's a little bit confusing. If you read قوله تعالى in Surah Al Ma'idah, وَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالْإِيمَانِ فَقَدْ حَبِطَ عَمَلُهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Whoever disbelieves in Iman or rejects Iman, his deed is nullified, and in the hereafter is among the losers. Obviously, his deed here is one deed that's been nullified. If a person rejects faith and Iman, all of his deeds are nullified, not just one deed. Even though here in this ayah came in a single tense, however, what's meant is generality. So al-mufrad al-mudaf ya'um. So keep that in your mind. You may use it too when you read Quran and you come across some ahadith, so it can actually clear some ambiguity and can lead to some understanding of the ayat and the hadith. So going back to the ayah, subhanallah, that we mentioned that Allah Jalla wa Ala ni'ams are countless, and He Jalla wa Ala all knowing of everything that comes from their slaves, everything that comes from His creation, right? Either they're grateful or not. That's why this ayah came right after, despite the fact that you can't count all the blessings of Allah. Either you are grateful or are not, Allah knows what you conceal, and Allah knows, subhanallah, what you show. Allah knows everything, what appears and what's hidden, everything, external, internal, exterior, interior. All of that, Allah Jalla wa Ala is all knowing of everything, despite you as creation being grateful to His ni'am or ungrateful to His ni'am. So since Jalla wa Ala, He knows السر وأخفى, since He knows the private and the public matters of human being and His creation, He talked about the next ayah, which is وَالَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Allah, He moved to another ayah, the second one right after number 20, وَالَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Those who invoke besides Allah, they create nothing. Those they call upon besides Allah have created nothing, rather themselves were created. So this ayah, subhanallah, again, what's the link between this ayah and the previous one? So to understand this one, we link this to the other one before too. Ayah number 17, or number 17. Allah says, أَفَمَنْ يَخْلُقُ كَمَنْ لَا يَخْلُقُ. Is the one who creates like the one who does not create? Don't you contemplate? Now, when you come here, Allah Jalla wa Ala is talking about those who invoke besides Him, and He's using the same attribute that He used in the first one, which is the attribute of creation, of khalq. And He's saying here, those that you call upon besides Him, Jalla wa Ala, they create nothing. Rather, them themselves are created. Subhanallah. So what we can benefit from this ayah, and what's the difference between this one, ayah number 20, compared to the ayah number 17? When you look at both, in the first one in 17, Allah Jalla wa Ala, He just gave a fact that those who do not create are not equal to those who create. But in this ayah, He gave an addition when He Jalla wa Ala said, لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون. The addition is, one of their description is, they create nothing and they are created. They create nothing and they are created. This is their description. So if someone, how can someone who cannot create a thing or anything can be worshipped besides Allah? Or can he have those divine attributes besides Allah Jalla wa Ala? Because scholars, they said, لأنه أثبت لهم صفة النقصان بعد أن سلب عنهم صفة الكمال. He affirmed the attribute of imperfection and flaws after he took from them the attributes of perfection, after he negate the khalq, the creation from them in the verse number 17, he add another thing. In addition to that, they themselves are created, subhanallah. So he add another addition that to shows their flaws and their imperfection. Then he mentioned Jalla wa Ala another description of those idols that are being worshipped besides him, right? He said أموات غير أحياء. Subhanallah, they're dead, lifeless, without any life, right? أموات غير أحياء وما يشعرون أيان يبعثون. So the word أموات mean these idols, this asnam, it's like they have bodies, but their bodies are dead, and there's a tashbih, there is a similarity here to someone. However, Allah Jalla wa Ala, he added also the word غير أحياء. Someone may say he could have stopped at the word أموات. When we describe them, those idols are dead. They're innate objects. They have no life. However, he added another addition, غير أحياء. Obviously, as we know in Quran, any addition has a meaning. There is no addition that doesn't have a role in the Quran. Either we know it or we don't. If you see something that you think just it's an addition for no reason, that you have to think again. Any addition in the Quran, subhanallah, we have to reflect, we have to contemplate upon why that addition. So he said amwat, which is dead, and then he add غير أحياء, without life or lifeless. So like I said, someone would say maybe the word amwat should have been sufficient in describing these idols. Why you add the word غير أحياء? Some scholars, they said this addition, it's to show that they're not like some other bodies. They were given life before and then they were dead after. This, they have no life from the beginning to begin with. There's no life in them to begin with. Subhanallah, how can they be worshipped? Those who have life, they're better than them. How can they worship them? That's in other words. Subhanallah, that's to show them this disbeliever, these pagans, those who worship idols besides Allah, how can they worship something did not have life to begin with, and they themselves already have lives, they're alive. How can they do that? Subhanallah. That's just to add more guidance and more bayan for them, and to refute their belief in these things, subhanallah, in these idols. And then he said Jalla wa Ala, وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ أَيَّانَ يُبْعَثُونَ, and they do not feel or they're not perceive or they do not know in the tafsir when they are being resurrected. If you can, brother, just go back to the translation so I can get exactly the right translation of the ayah. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ أَيَّانَ يُبْعَثُونَ. And they're dead, not living, they do not even know. Yeah, so the word yash'ur here in Arabic, even though it means feel or perceive, the translation here they use as know, and that's what it is also in the tafsir. Most of the tafsir, the word yash'urun and ya'lamun, they don't even know when they will be resurrected. Now, tafsir, there is a khilaf, there's a different among scholars of tafsir on the dhamir, on the object, on the subject here, which one this ayah is talking about. Is it talking about are they the kuffar, the disbelievers, the pagans, or are they the asnam, the idols themselves, because they're innate objects? Some mufassirin, they said the word they here, they do not know, goes back on the asnam, on the idols. When they're being resurrected, they do not know the day or the time or what's happening to them, because they have no feelings, there's nothing in them. Other mufassirin, they said actually the word they here comes to the kuffar, and that's more fitting actually for this ayah, according to the majority of mufassirin, because when even though they reject the ba'th, they don't believe in the resurrection, and when they are being resurrected, they will not know the day or the time or what's happening to them when that event takes place. Then he said Jalla wa Ala, ilahukum ilahun wahid. Ilahukum ilahun wahid. Well, before I get to the ayah, there is another note, subhanallah, another beautiful fa'idah, benefit. Ibn Ashur, he mentioned his tafsir, Tanwir. He said, now you link this ayah, amwatun ghayru ahya, dead, not alive or lifeless. to the previous ayat when Allah said, Wallahu ya'lamu ma tusirun. Allah knows what you conceal, right? By default, someone who's lifeless, he has no knowledge. Someone who has no hayat, someone who has no life, he has no, or has not much attributes, he has not a lot of attributes. Among these attributes is the ilm, right? If someone is dead, he has no knowledge. Someone is like the asnam, they're innate, they have no knowledge. So there is also here a admonition and wa'id for the kuffar, for disbeliever. How can you worship something who has no knowledge? And if you go back to the previous ayat, Allah says, Wallahu ya'lam. Allah knows everything that you conceal and everything that you do. Allah knows what you do in public. Allah knows what you do in private, right? How could you worship something who has no knowledge whatsoever, because they're dead? They don't even know what's happening to them or to you, O kuffar. Forget about something that's even hidden. So that's also another fa'idah that can be extracted, refuting and replying to this kuffar in worshiping idols besides Allah. How can you worship something who has no knowledge? Because they're dead in the first place. Then he said, Jalla wa'ala, ilahukum ilahun wahid. Subhanallah. So when Allah Jalla wa'ala showed the misguidance of these people, the misguidance of the pagans and the mushrikeen in worshiping idols besides Allah, he declared what's the truth. He declared Jalla wa'ala what's the truth in the same context, in the same matter, and it's his wahdaniyah, in his oneness, right? بقوله ilahukum ilahun wahid. Your Lord or your God is one God, subhanallah. After mentioning then Allah talked about now another fact, which is the truth. You pagans, what you're doing or what you practicing is the falsehood. Here is the truth. The truth is that your God is one God. Ilahukum ilahun wahid. Subhanallah. Then he said, but the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter are steeped in rejection of the truth, and they are given to arrogance. SubhanAllah, those who do not believe in the hereafter, their hearts are in denial, in rejection, while they are in state of arrogance. وَهُمْ مُسْتَكْبِرُونَ. The word wa here in Arabic is called waw al-hal. It's the waw, the end of status. Their status istikbar. They are in status of arrogance. Their hearts are in denial and rejection of believing in the hereafter, and they are in state of istikbar. And that's the reason why they did not believe in the first place. They're not believing in the hereafter because of that kibr in their hearts. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said here also, he labeled those pagans لا يؤمنون بالآخرة. Some scholars, they said, why Allah did not call them the mushrikeen? In the ayah could have said ilahukum ilahun wahid, and the mushrikeen's heart are in denial. But he said وَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. Some mufassirin, they said, because they became so famous in rejecting the hereafter and not believing in the ba'ath, they were labeled that way. And this is, subhanAllah, you can see that in the Quran, in many ayat, in many books, and in many chapters and many surahs, that they're being not just described as mushrikeen in one word, but by this full sentence, لا يؤمنون بالآخرة. So they do not believe in the akhirah, because that belief stick to their hearts and became constant, subhanallah, to the point that said there is no change for them. And that's why also the word يؤمنون came on the present tense. There is a rule in Arabic, it says that الفعل المضارع يفيد التجديد والجملة الاسمية تفيد الاستمرارية. Meaning when a sentence comes just without a verb, like مبتدا and خبر, two words, or that indicates the continuity. When a sentence comes in present tense with a verb in present tense being conjugated in present tense, that indicates the tajdid, the renewity. So their hearts constantly, they renew that belief, that they're rejecting the hereafter, believing in the hereafter. That's why we'll in the next in the sentence right after, قلوبهم منكرة. So their hearts are in denial. Here describe the hearts is in one word and in an adjective. Hearts in denial. That indicates also what I just said, istimrariya. Their hearts in constant denial, due to the fact that they are renewing that belief in their hearts every time. Every time لا يؤمن بالآخرة. Every time they do not believe in the hereafter. So their hearts became والعياذ بالله in that state of denial, while everything is in arrogance, while everything والعياذ بالله is in istikbar. The next ayah, subhanallah, while they are in istikbar, while their hearts in that denial and rejection, Allah confirms and gives another fact here. He says, لا جرم أن الله يعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون إنه لا يحب المستكبرين. The word لا جرم in Arabic, which translates here, surely Allah knows all that they conceal and all that they disclose. He certainly does not love those who are steeped in arrogance. In Arabic, the word لا جرم بمعنى حقا. It's a negation of the word جرم or جرم, and when you combine them, it means حقا, means truly or surely. No doubt that Allah knows all that they conceal. And here you can see the subhanallah, this part of the ayah is repeated like the other one. Remember the ayah number 19, Wallahu ya'lamu ma tusnun. In this ayah number 23, Allah is confirming and affirming and emphasizing that fact that with the word la jarama, which means haqqan, and anna, which is in Arabic to feed the tawkid also. So it's two ways of confirming this fact that Allah knows what they conceal and what they disclose. SubhanAllah. No matter what they have in their hearts, no matter how much arrogance they have in their hearts, how much denial they are in for the hereafter, Allah knows that. Allah knows everything they do in public and in private, everything they conceal and everything they disclose. And here also it's even more wa'id, more threat and more admonition to these people. This word, what comes la jarma, this subhanAllah is so scary. If it falls on the heart of a believer and he knows exactly what this ayah means, his heart will shiver, because subhanAllah, this ayah is for those who rejected the hereafter, who rejected faith, while subhanAllah they are in state of arrogance. And Allah replied to that. Allah replied to that state of arrogance by saying, Innahu la yuhibbul mustakbirin. Allah does not love those who are arrogant. Allah does not love those who are arrogant. This is also another wa'id, another tahdeed. It's also another admonition and another threat from Allah Jalla wa Ala to these people, that Allah does not love those who have istikbar billah, those who refuse the truth out of arrogance of their hearts. So we have to be very careful of this character. We'll talk a little bit more, inshallah, shortly about the benefits of this ayat, and we'll talk a little bit more about this sifa, this attribute, al-kibr. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from kibr and to keep kibr away from us, like a distance between east and west. Then he said, Jalla wa ala, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ. Now, while they are in state of istikbar, they're asked by who? By the believers. In one of the tafsir, they were asked what Allah has revealed to you. If you can move a little bit to the next ayah, so we can read the translation. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ مَاذَا أَنزَلَ رَبُّكُمْ قَالُوا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. So when they are asked what your Lord has revealed to you, they would say the ancient legends, or the legends of the ancient ones. Here there is a conversation that took place between the believers. So they ask them, what is that your Lord has revealed? The answer from the disbeliever, they are merely tales of the old times. So the word asatir here, it's comes on the tense of afa'il, and it comes from istar or istarat or istara, which is also ala wazn if'ala, and the single of this word is satr, which is a line, basically. That's one of the tafsir too. The word asatir, it's in Arabic called jam'ul jama'. It's the plural of a plural of the word istarat for satr. So you see the word jam'ul jama' in does exist in Arabic language, despite the fact that a lot of actually scholars of Arabic language deny that there is no such a thing. But in Arabic there is a word that has a plural, and that plural also has a plural in itself. Like you say hujjaj, for example, those who go to those who perform hajj, right? And hujjaj, multiple hujjaj, groups of hujjaj, they combine and they make hajij, ala wazn fa'il. So it's called also jam' al-jama'. But anyhow, the word asatir here it was described as tales, and that's exactly what it is in Arabic language too. It's like it's legends or tales of the previous people, or the old times, or the ancient people. Here there is a benefit when you read this ayah in some of the masahif. You're going to see that the word la, small tiny la, after the word before the word qalu, which means you cannot stop. You cannot stop. You have to continue reading you cannot read وَإِذَا قِيلَ مَاذَا أَنزَلَ رَبُّكُمْ. You stop and then you continue. If you see the la, you have to continue reciting the end of the ayah. So this is just a side note. When some of the masahib they have that, some they don't. So just you follow the mushaf that you're reading from. Another benefit also, or another Arabic mistake that could change the meaning of this ayah. The word asatir came in this ayah with dhamma. It came with dhamma. Did not come with fatha. Some may read ماذا أنزل ربكم قالوا أساطير الأولين. If it's written by fatha, والعياذ بالله, that's a big mistake, because that would change the meaning from the word asatir being subject being object. In this case, if you translate, let's say, they were asked what has Lord revealed, they reply, he revealed the old times. That's if you put fatha on the asatir, that become the meaning. However, here that's not the meaning. It's dhamma here, and the translation is قالوا هو هي أساطير الأولين. They say it is the old tales. So make sure when you read the Quran, you pay attention to the dhamma here. Don't make it fatha. Otherwise, you put the ayah in contradiction of both. Because if you say Allah revealed the old tales, or tales of the old times, if it's tales of old times, how can be revealed now? So there is contradiction in the meaning. And see, subhanAllah, how single shakl. Now, even a letter, shakl, just a shakl, from dhamma to fatha, or fatha to dhamma to kasra, can change the whole meaning of an ayah. And can take an ayah from its meaning to a whole different one, that can even, subhanAllah, give false conceptions. So that question was from the believers. Disbelievers, of course, they continue in there exactly what Allah described them, by their hearts being in denial, they're in arrogance, and because of that arrogance, they replied with that response, saying that these are tales of the old times. Then Allah Jalla wa Ala, the ayah after number 25, what did he say? لِيَحْمِلُوا أَوْزَارَهُمْ كَامِلَةً يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَمِنْ أَوْزَارِ الَّذِينَ يُضُلُّونَهُم بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَزِرُونَ. In this ayah, by the way, you can see also that after the word qiyamah, that small la right there, that's the one that I talk about. In this script, it's written in this ayah as well. So if you can see it, you have to continue straight the ayah. Do not stop at the word qiyamah. You have to continue the recitation, and you can stop right after, but you cannot stop at the word qiyamah. Here the translation says, they say so that they may bear the full weight of their burdens on the day of resurrection, and also of the burdens of those whom they misled on account of their ignorance. What a heavy burden are they undertaking to bear. Subhanallah, what a phenomenal ayah, and it's a very scary one too. In the meantime, it's very terrifying. Here the reply came straight, subhanallah, from Allah Jalla wa Ala. The word lam here, it's called in some tafsir called lam al-aqibah. This word li, it's called lam al-aqibah, or the lam of punishment. The word lam is lam of punishment, because of their arrogance, and because of that answer they gave out of their arrogance, that these are the old or tales of the old times. They shall لِيَحْمِلُوا, because of that statement, they will carry and they will bear the full weight. And he's supposed to say أوزارهم. He did not even say the word أوزارهم. By the way, the word أوزار in Arabic comes also على وزن أفعال. The single word is wizr, بمعنى ثقل, حمل, or weight. That's the word wizr, بمعنى ثقل or حمل. In another ayah in Surah Al Nahl, لِيَحْمِلُوا أَثْقَالَهُم وَأَثْقَالًا مَعَ أَثْقَالِهِم. So they would carry or bear their weights. It's exactly the same as wizr, and weights on top of their weights. So أثقال and أثقال. And here the word that was used in this ayah is awzar, which is atham. Wizr بمعنى إثم and sins. So they would bear the full weight of the sins, subhanallah, of themselves in full. The word kamila. So also this is in addition, subhanallah. He could have said يحمل أوزارهم, but he added the word kamila here to just indicate two things. It would be full, nothing is less, and also to indicate the severity of the weight, how heavy it is, by adding the word kamila. Because when you said the word kamila, subhanallah, then you can perceive the meaning that these weights are there, and also they're very, very heavy, extremely heavy, because they are in full in the day of resurrection. And among, and also some, the word min here, some tafsir also, they say this min called min al-tab'idiyya. It's min for tab'id, which basically, how can I translate the word tab'id? Tab'id comes from being partial. Some of it, not all of it as whole, but min, some of it, from some of the awzar, some of the sins of those who misguide without ilm, those who misguide or mislead without ilm, right, without knowledge. Some they say no, the word min here, it's not, doesn't indicate tab'id. The word min here is the jins, is for genre, which means min here, it's the same exact type of wizard. They're the one who led them astray, exactly, they will take same exact type of wizard. So the word min here indicates the genre, which is the jins, which is same type. In other words, the same exact type of wizard the other ones they bear, they will take the same thing. And this is actually closer to the truth because of another ayah, of another hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, in the famous hadith Abi Hurairah in Sahih Muslim, he ﷺ famously said, "Man sanna fil Islam sunnatan hasana," whoever exercises sunnah in Islam, a good sunnah, falahu ajruha wa ajru man amila biha ila yawm al-qiyamah. He will bear the reward of that sunnah, and whoever practices that sunnah to the day of judgment, the day of resurrection. Likewise, he said, sallallahu after, وَمَنْ سَنَّ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ سُنَّةً سَيِّئَةً, whoever exercised a bad sunnah or bad habit in Islam, he shall bear the wizard of that sins and the wizard and the sins of every single person who practiced that bad thing or bad deed until the day of resurrection. Subhanallah. So it's a very, very scary ayah. Like I said, and the hadith itself confirms that the word min here, it's not just for some of their sins. No, it's the full measure, the full quantity, the full same quality of the wizard will be also carried billah, until the day of judgment. And then he said at the end, ألا ساء ما يزرون, what a heavy burden are they undertaken to bear. Subhanallah, how ill, how bad, how miserable, how worse what they are bearing, how worse, how bad, how evil, how it's a heavy burden what they're carrying. Subhanallah. And the day of judgment, yes, indeed, it will be a very, very heavy burden. Imagine, subhanallah, someone calls for a bid'ah or calls for something or a bad deed, and he has, let's say, 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, 500,000, and 1 million that do exactly that same deed. How much sins, subhanallah, he will carry. Same likewise too. Whoever calls for a good deed and people follow, he will get the reward of all these people. Nothing will be incomplete from their reward. Subhanallah. In Tafsir Adwa al-Bayan, Shalqiti rahimahullah, I was reading the tafsir of this ayah, and he mentioned something after he mentioned the hadith that I mentioned from Sahih Muslim. Something, subhanallah, made me reflect and think. It's common sense, but the thought never crossed my mind. Subhanallah, it made me think and made me weep. Made me, subhanallah, how can I miss that? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith when he said, "Man sanna fi Islam sunnatan hasana falahu ajruha," whoever practice a good sunnah in Islam, he will have the reward of it and the reward of every single one that does it afterwards. Meaning, whoever guide people to the right path, he will get rewarded for everything they do. So he said, subhanallah, the most person who will have the highest reward and the most reward any human being ever will receive is our Prophet ﷺ, because he is the one who came with the Islam, and every single one who embraced Islam from exactly that moment, starting from his wife Khadija radiallahu anha to her cousin Nawfal to Abu Bakr, all the way to the last person on the Day of Judgment, every single one of them, any good deed they do, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will subhanallah have the full reward of that. Imagine subhanallah the status of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And like I said, I never thought about this hadith that way, or never crossed my mind that the most fitting subhanallah of this hadith is himself, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who spoke this hadith, who uttered this hadith, and he will have subhanallah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the highest, the most reward can any believer has in existence, period. Because he's the one وسلم, who Allah guided us to the Islam by him, and he sent him to us. We ask Allah to make us among those who follow his sunnah, and among those who call for his path and his sunnah, and to make us among those of this hadith who guide people to the right path and benefit from their good deeds right after. I will conclude just inshallah in just next 4 or 5 minutes what we can benefit from this ayat, just the fawaid of this ayat. Number one, the first ayat, ayah number 19, Wallahu ya'lamu ma tusirrun, knowing that Allah knows everything. This ayah should make the person, make a Muslim, make a believer fear Allah in public and private. If you know that Allah knows everything and all knowing of everything we conceal and everything we disclose, we should believe that we're not invisible to Allah, and we should believe that we're not mute to Allah Jalla wa'ala. Allah sees everything, hears everything, and he knows everything, and therefore we should watch everything that we do in private or in public, especially in private, especially when those doors are closed, especially when you're by yourself between these walls, especially. So pay attention to this ayah, subhanallah, and know that this ayah came in the contents of wa'id, of threatening. Did not came after Allah mentioned that his ni'am cannot be countless. So be aware, O human being, be aware, O believer, that Allah knows everything you do in private, in public. So therefore be grateful to his ni'am that you cannot and you will not be able to count or to fulfill its haqq and its right. Subhanallah. That's number one. Number two, the ayah right after, those who call besides Allah. Obviously, this ayah came to the pagans, those who worship idols. In Quran, there is a general rule: al-ibra بعموم اللفظ لا بخصوص السبب. This is extremely important. This rule, it's extremely important. Despite the reason of revelation, we go by the general meaning of the terms. Not because if a, let's say, was revealed in pagans or in the Jews or the Christian, therefore does not apply to Muslims. That's not the case. Yes, it was revealed, let's say, in the Jews on the certain matter, but if the general meaning applies to the waqa of the Muslims, it does. This ayah does so, even though it applies to those who worship idols like Hindus in our time. It also applies to those who claim they are Muslims and they worship besides Allah graves and deceased people. That's also shirk akbar. Those who invoke besides Allah these people, or they think they have some sort of power or control, and they have some sort of status at Allah, so why they call upon them. Subhanallah, it's so sad looking now in our time, looking at a lot of Islamic countries, and we can see like there is qubur, there's graves everywhere, and graves and message being built upon these graves, and these people under the grave are being called besides Allah. Oh, Sidi Flan, you, subhanallah, it's amazing when someone just prays and he would say إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين, and when he makes salam, when he gets up, he would say, oh Sidi Abdul Qadir, oh Sidi Flan, oh my master such and such, la ilaha illallah. You were just saying إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين, only you we worship, only you we seek assistance from, and yet you leave the prayer and you go and you seek assistance from somebody else who under the grave, who is not even able to help himself when he was alive. How can he help you when he's dead? Subhanallah. Those who invoke besides Allah, they create nothing, and they are created too as well. It doesn't matter if they are idols, It doesn't matter if they're under the grave, human beings. Doesn't matter if they're trees. Doesn't matter if they are angels. Doesn't matter if they're Satans. Anything that's besides Allah Jalla wa Ala is created, and He's the creator, and He's the only God worthy of worship, nothing else. So a Muslim should be very careful of the shirk. The fact that Ibrahim alayhi salam said, subhanAllah, in Surah Ibrahim, Rabbi jnubni wa baniya an na'budu al-asnam, himself alayhi salam, who is ummah, who is nation by himself, he said, oh my Lord, keep me away from worshipping idols, me and my progeny. How about me and you? Subhanallah. How about other type of shirk like this one, when a lot of people who claim they're Muslims, they fell into this. They say La ilaha illallah, Muhammad sallallahu, they pray, they give zakat, they go hajj, and yet they call besides Allah other deities billah, under the grave. We ask Allah subhanahu to help us and to guide us to the path of Tawheed, and to keep shirk away from us, and to make us among those who reflect upon the Quran and follow the pearls and the gems of the Quran. I will stop here, inshallah, and maybe you can continue next week and mention a couple more benefits from this ayat. Since the time is I took a longer time, I apologize for taking that long. If any comments or any corrections, inshallah, please. If anything I said wrong, that's from myself and my shaitan. Anything I said right, that's from Allah Jalla wa Ala alone. Jazakumullah khairan, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Jazakallah khairan, mashallah, very beautifully presented. May Allah reward you. May Allah give us tawfiq to act on these verses. So inshallah, just one question. In these verses, we talked about, the importance of the heart being in the right place. As we reflect on our own hearts personally, how does one know if their heart is in the right place? And if it's not, what's your advice to get it into the right place?
That's a very, very broad question, and very, very tough question too.
Just a couple of tips, inshallah.
Yeah. Subhanallah, it came to mind Athar Abu Darda radiallahu anhu. One time, exactly same question or similar question was asked him from one of the tabi'een. He said, Abu Darda, how do I know this is the truth? How do I know this is the truth? He was asking about just in general, how can I tell this is the truth? He said, subhanallah, inna lil-haqqi nura. Indeed, for the truth is a light, and that light is in the heart. So here, subhanallah, he said, even though sometimes it's hard with all, like we said, all the things that we see around us, fitan, trials, innovations, type of shirk, billah. How can someone figure out the right path? How can someone know the truth? How can he know that his heart is on the right place? One tip I would say, that's one, the truth has light, no matter what. No matter how much the soul can deny it, how the soul doesn't want to see it, there is light, subhanallah, for those who want to seek, for those who want to really reach the truth. That's one tip. Tip number two, subhanallah, obviously, is dua and prayer at night. If someone is in doubt of anything, or if he's not sure if his heart is not on the right place, you have to knock your Lord's doors. And what a better time at night time. Qiyam al-Layl is one of the best remedies to these situations. If anybody is in doubt, or he doesn't know if his heart in the right place, wake up at night before Fajr, make complete wudu, and come to Allah with sincerity to guide you the right path, and to put your heart in the right place, and make dua, and you'll see, subhanallah. Don't give up hope. It might not happen the first night. Give it time, give it consistency, be honest, and don't say I called and nobody answered and I'm still confused. Just be sincere, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you tawfiq. Allahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khairan, very beautifully answered. May Allah reward you. With that, we'll end today's session. Inshallah, we'll continue same time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time next Wednesday. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat, wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Sadaqallahu al-azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar.